Welcome to Amanda Hall Psychic here on A1R Psychic Radio on Moonstruck TV for our weekly show out of the South Carolinas. Look, I'm really excited to be here with you today. Look, I know there's so much doom and gloom going on around the world, and, you know, we can't escape no matter where we are in whatever part of the world we are about the COVID-19. But this week, for some reason, I'm just feeling that little bit more optimistic than usual. So I hope that sort of shines through and makes a little bit more pleasant for your day, wherever you are in the world and whatever you're dealing with. I know it's been a huge loss of life this week, and we can't underplay that. I mean, it doesn't matter which part of the globe you're in. Everybody has a story about this. Everybody knows somebody that's lost somebody. And it's a terrible shame. You know, we're losing far too many people, and not all of them are in their senior years. We're losing too many young people as well. So let's all sort of hope and pray together that we get some sort of treatment for this dreadful pandemic. More importantly, that they get some breakthroughs with vaccines. And I know there's a lot of amazing work going on around the world in many different ways, and they're not leaving any stone unturned, which is a good thing, because to get confidence back in the world and to be able to move forward with our lives, we need some sort of a surety. So this week, the Secrets of Tarot card that I've drawn before the show is the Knight of Pentacles. Now, this is a really unusual sort of card to come out, I believe, in these sort of times, because the Knight of Pentacles has two meanings. It can be a young male up to the age of 25, or the secondary meaning is visitors. Now, many of us around the world are very restricted on whether or not we can have a visitor to our home. We're all still in some form of lockdown. But when I say visitors, let's maybe broaden that out to somebody that's going to contact us, someone that normally might pop in for a physical visit, but they're actually visiting us now in some form of social media, whether it's your Skype, your Zoom, your FaceTime, whatever the device may be, or the way that you're actually connecting with the world, and they have a message to share. So that may just very well be popping by and saying, hello, how are you? Hope you're well. How's your mental health? You know, there's many reasons why I think we all need to stay connected at the moment. And I don't know about you, but my inbox is pretty full most days with little, waving something or others, people sort of from around the world just sending me a little message, waving, sort of saying, I hope you're well, stay safe, whatever the case may be. And I try and forward that on to as many people as I can, because I think the more that we collectively as a globe try and stay focused, and it might just be that one little silly waving something or other that puts a smile on that person's face, that breaks the monotony of their fear or their frustration, or they're just having a difficult moment. So please make sure that you don't ignore those things. It's everybody's way of trying to stay connected. Now, each week we talk about astrological sort of matters. In the last few weeks, I've been focusing on the COVID-19 pandemic, and I'm not going to change from that this week, because I feel it's important that we keep abreast of what I'm actually seeing on an astrological level on a weekly basis. Is there any major shifts? Is there anything that's coming up astrologically that may help us through this, or may sort of shed some light on, whether we're going to get some answers shortly at how we can move forward as a globe? Now, this week we have two major planets going retrograde. Now, for regular viewers of the show, you'll know that I quite often talk about Mercury, the planet of communication, going retrograde 3 times a year for approximately 2.5 to 3 weeks, and how he loves to tip our world upside down. Well, I'm pleased to say we're not talking about Mercury at the moment. We're talking about 2 other planets. Now, last week I touched on Pluto, the planet of transformation, and I'll get to that in a little minute. He's going retrograde. But let's start the segment off with Venus. Now, Venus is the planet of love and affection. And most of us, when we hear the word Venus, we all start to melt and we think about new love affairs or things that we love to do, things that make our hearts sing. Now, that's still true of Venus. Just because Venus is going retrograde from May 13 to approximately June 25, it doesn't mean that love affairs are all going to fly out the window and we're all going to be on our own. What it means is Venus is asking each and every one of us on a personal level to take a little trip on the inside, to actually have a look at our lives, to have a look at the relationships, the close relationships that we've got, whether they're of a love interest or whether they're friends, whether they're family, whether they're our neighbours, our colleagues at work, if we're fortunate enough to be able to step out the door and go to work, and we're not working remotely as many people are still around the world. But Venus is asking us to examine those situations. Now, for many people, this may be a little bit tricky. It may bring up some old, unresolved wounds. Now, we don't always process at the time of a change in our life or the end of a relationship or a disagreement with somebody that we cared about or even a close friend. We tend to shelve it and think, I'll get around to that later on. And this is the time when the later on comes back to be sort of reckoned with. It's like we've got to balance the checkbook. We have to come to terms with or understand the things that we put away that we didn't deal with at the time for whatever reason. We have to also examine our part or our role in what brought about these events. Now, nothing is always the other person's fault 100%. There's always two in the equation or more. So we have to look at each person's role in this. Now, for some people, it's going to be quite confronting. It's going to be, oh my goodness, I didn't realise I'd hurt somebody in this way, or I'd done this, or I should have behaved better, or whatever the case may be. Now, not every situation needs to be go back and try and fix it up or mend it. You know, for a lot of situations, they will have resolved themselves in whatever fashion they were meant to. But if there's something there that we can go back and maybe attempt to resolve or sort out, then maybe that's the answer. Now, it's not one size fits all. And before you start overloading my inbox and saying, well, I'm not going to go back and make amends with such and such or this person or that person, because there's some situations in life that when we draw a line under it, we say that's it. Because we have to, because there is no other resolution that we can take. We've tried every other solution. We've tried to be fair. We've tried to be reasonable. We've tried to help that person. We've done everything to the point where we've got nothing left in the reserve tank. And for our own self-preservation, we need to draw a line under it and say, I'm done. Now, they're a very exclusive situation. They're not my suggested course of action for everything that goes on in your life. But if you've exhausted every other avenue and there is no other recourse, no other thing that you can try, then that's the resort of last resort. It's the final thing. It's the only way that you can then move forward as an individual and say, I'm not going to allow this to take up valuable real estate in my mind anymore, because there's nothing more I can try. I have exhausted everything a number of times over. But for the majority of us, the little arguments or disagreements we've had with a family member or a close friend or whatever can be easily repaired and sorted out by simply just sort of maybe acknowledging that it's okay for them to have a different opinion to us and we can agree to disagree. Now, for many relationships under this time of this pandemic, I know a lot of people have been really finding that, hey, hang on a minute, the person I've been married to or in a relationship with for many, many years, it's like I don't know them. Now, it's not that you don't know them. The fact is that your life has become very different. Instead of us being busy and out the house and out to work and out to play and out to sport and out to everything else and spending time with friends and, you know, only crossing paths, you know, for a little time each day, and we say we're in a close marriage or a close relationship, but we literally spend very little time together, we're starting to see the other person for who they truly are. So for some couples, this has been a very testing time. For a lot of households, it's been very testing as parents adjust to having children underfoot and different, you know, forms of electronic learning instead of them going to schools and institutions to learn and work. So it's been a struggle for a lot of people. But a lot of people have also shared with me the flip side of this, where it's been so amazing to be able to slow down and spend some quality time with their children and rediscover who they really are and what's really important to them in their lives. So Venus is having a very big chance in all of this. Venus is sort of really pushing her weight around, sort of asking us all to not squander this time. This is really important. We can get some major breakthroughs. We can do some adjustments to ourselves if we don't like what we see. We can also mend some fences, and we can use this time to rebalance the things that are important to us, the things that make our heart sing, the things that make us sing through the day. So please don't waste this Venus retrograde. It only happens approximately every 18 months to 2 years, and it really is important. Now, not Mercury. Why do I keep trying to talk about Mercury? Mercury is just trying to get his little head in here because he hasn't got any airtime. Pluto retrograde is actually a time where it's going to go from April 25 through to October 4. Now, Pluto spends a lot of his time retrograde, so it's not uncommon for Pluto to be retrograde. But why is it so important at the moment? With this pandemic going on, and Pluto nearing the end of his retrograde phase in Capricorn, which he's been there since late 2008 and will be there till 2022 approximately, he's nearing the end. So he's gaining momentum, he's gaining energy. Now, the fact that he's retrograde at the moment, we're starting to see people become a little bit cocky. We're starting to see people sort of opening their mouths and dribble coming out before they've had time to think about it, before they've had really time to sort of catch up with, I suppose, what is the latest briefing or the latest information. They just open their mouth and out at pause. And I'm not going to mention any names with that. That's happening with a lot of people around the world, not just one person. So it's really important to understand now, as people are starting to become sick of what's going on around the world, we're starting to see tempers frayed and we're starting to see people sort of really show their true colours. Now, this is part of the Pluto transformation as I see it. We're going to see a lot of emphasis now as the globe connects together as one. So even though I'm here in Australia, I constantly try and keep abreast of what's happening overseas, particularly in the USA and the UK, and what's happening in Asia and sort of Germany, and, you know, sort of trying as much as I can be as well-rounded in the information that I gather during a week of understanding how the globe is handling this pandemic. And that also adds weight to what I see on an astrological level, because I'm able to then go into my mind and say, well, yes, I can see how that's unfolding. I can go tick, 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 tick. So with Pluto going retrograde at the moment, and he's holding hands with Jupiter, which is the planet of expansion opportunity, asking us to take the high road, asking us to really sort of rise above our own egos and let's put our thinking caps on and do something collective as a globe, which is very difficult for a lot of people. But we're going to see, I feel, over the next couple of weeks particularly, more of an emphasis or a shift towards the actual science, the technical, the practical side of this pandemic, not so much what somebody's going to get up there and talk about every day in their press conference around the world. And, you know, different countries have different, you know, variations on that, but pretty much everybody, I think, is up there in front of a camera sharing the latest or what the latest rules and regulations are for your area. So we're going to find they're not going to be, I think, as prevalent or maybe getting top billing as much as we're going to see the technical, the scientific minds, people coming forward with theories and potential possibilities or potential drug therapies or more information about some of the vaccines that are being developed. We're going to see more of a shift towards that. And I think that's what we all need as a globe, is to start hearing the science behind this, not, you know, the flag waving of how important I am, but let's start to sort of see what the scientists are telling us. And I think that's what we need to absorb now, is what are their recommendations for us moving forward? What are their suggestions on how we handle this as we try and get back, or, you know, claw back some of our life to the way that we used to know it. It will bring up emotions. It will be sometimes very confronting. And it will be sort of like one part of the world's doing one thing and we're doing something different. So who's right and who's wrong? I think you have to sift through that and make your own decision at what feels right for you. I think that's the best words of advice I can give you there. So quickly moving on to the candle of the week. This is one of my favourite candles. This one's the candle of destiny. And the reasons why it's one of my favourite candles is I just sort of think sometimes we've just got to lighten things up a little bit and maybe allow destiny to take us by the hand and say, this is what, oh, it's the dream candle. So there you go. I thought I'd pick destiny. It's dreams. So maybe we need to be all sort of going and doing a little bit of daydreaming. Maybe that's what's needed. We need to be sort of focusing on allowing our minds to be still But going back to why I like the Destiny candle, I think just sometimes we just need to let Destiny take its course. So this is the Dream candle. So I do apologise. I thought I'd grab Destiny off the shelf, but it's the Dream candle. So I think we can all take a little bit of time and do a little bit of daydreaming and just let our minds become a little bit still. I think that's the important thing. Now, the gift box that I've made this week is healing. It's also My Angel in the Sky, which I've got going on in the background, and the travel candle. And the reason why I chose the travel candle was to unite the world, that we can all unite together in trying to heal the planet and to also remember those that we have lost. We have lost far too many people around the world, and that's the reasons why I've got the My Angel in the Sky candle in the middle. I am actually burning those on set because I want everybody to know that every single life that has been lost through this pandemic or through other situations is important, and we all need to look at that, and we all need to acknowledge that. And I think we all need to take a moment and allow ourselves to be a little bit sad, because it is important that we do acknowledge loss in our lives. I think we're also too busy usually that we get through the funeral and the funfair and the saying goodbye and, catching up with the relatives and the friends, that we then forget to deal with our emotions. And I think that's the important thing, that we can take some time and we can remember the funny stories and the things that we loved about that person and why they made us smile. Because each person, no matter what they achieve in their lives, do bring something special to the world. And, not everybody's going to be the president or a king or a queen or somebody that's in the public eye, but everybody, and I mean everyone, is important in their own way. They're the king or queen of their own world, their own kingdom, and they do bring something special to the table. And I know one of the things that people have sort of been sharing with me recently, that because they've had the time to reflect and look back at family history and everything, they're starting to see links on a genetic level of mannerisms, of, gee, I'm like my grandmother or my great aunt because of whatever. Things that maybe they wouldn't have stopped and thought about or even considered in their lives before, because they were all too busy getting on with making money and being busy and having the latest car and the right hairdo and the right clothes and the whatever. Isn't it interesting how all those things aren't suddenly as important as they were even only a few short weeks ago? So I feel that the world is changing, and the world is changing for the better. I'm not sure that collectively as a globe we've learnt all our lessons yet. I still sort of see far too much emphasis on monetary policy. I know money is important and it makes the world go round, but I think we also need to put health above finances at the moment, because if we don't have the health of the globe, we don't have the opportunity to make money, to build wealth again around the world. If we don't have the health of people, health is what makes us wealthy. We have all the wealth that we need if we have our good health. And I think people are starting to forget that a little bit and just want to sort of get back to some sort of normality. And I do understand that, and I do appreciate that, because I know that it's been very confronting, as I said, for a lot of people, having to spend time at home in confined quarters and what do I do with myself? So we've got Danielle in Moose Jaw, and I won't even pretend to try and announce that province in Canada. Are you there, Daniela? I'm not even going to try and attempt that one. We'll be here all day for me trying to pronounce that. Are you there, Danielle? Hello, sweetie. Are you there?
Yeah.
Do you have a question I can work with, please, Danielle?
When is Christopher going to ask me to move in with him? Like, he's being weird.
Oh, okay. All right, look, I don't think he's at that point yet. I don't think he's really sort of come to a final decision yet about taking the relationship to the next level. I'm not saying it hasn't crossed his mind, but at the moment I think he just wants to sort of just let things just sort of be. He just wants to enjoy where we are and sort of look towards maybe towards the end of the year, making that sort of decision and sitting down and discussing it with you then. I don't think it'll be much before about September, October. He's also gone through a number of adjustments himself in the last couple of months, And not just with, the COVID-19. I think he was already going through adjustments in himself prior to that, where he was trying to sort out the things that were important to him. Did he take up some extra study connected with his work, or was he only talking about that?
He did go back to school for a little bit, but it didn't last long.
Okay, because I still feel that there's more learning or more training around him connected with his profession. That sort of is the next area that he needs to look at and sort of focus on. Look, I'm not saying he doesn't want the relationship. Please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. He's just not ready to take it to that next level of commitment yet where the two of you move in together. But he will towards the end of the year. And when he does decide that the time's right, it'll be sort of like, well, hurry up, how quickly can we do all this? I'm in a hurry now. And you sort of think, well, we could have been sort of working towards this earlier, but that's just the way he is. So for you, I feel what you need to be doing over these next couple of months is making sure that you've tidied up your past. There's a lot of times that you rush through things, that you don't always complete things. So it's a time to go back now and complete things, even if it's just a matter of going back over things in your mind, looking at things, working through them, processing, letting go, sort of putting things into baskets and saying, well, that's dealt with. I've still got a little bit of work to do on that. That's not important to work on, so that you're preparing and getting ready as well. Do you have a problem with patience, as many of us do?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was something that they were showing me very strongly. It was like, okay, the reward for patience is more patience, and it's sort of like now's the time we've got to start practicing that. And I know it's difficult, but it's sort of something, if you can learn to master that, you will find then that things will come towards you a lot quicker. It's almost like with you being so impatient, you actually slow things down. And I know that sounds strange, but that's the way they're sharing it with me. So I thank you for the opportunity to work with you. We're going to work with April now in Allium Creek, West Virginia, USA. Are you there, April?
Yes, hello.
Do you have a question for me, sweetie?
I was just hoping maybe to hear something from my brother who's passed.
Yeah, sweetie, it's always difficult with such a short space of time to be able to connect with the other side. They don't always just come through because we want them to. Do you have a question that I can sort of answer for you? And if he wants to chime in, he will.
I just want to make sure that we're okay because we weren't when he got killed.
Okay. He's not coming through to me with any way that he's upset or cranky or angry or anything like that with you, so I'm going to take that he is okay. It's always interesting, April, when somebody passes and they pass at a time that some people might say is inconvenient, or there's unfinished business, or I didn't get a chance to say I'm sorry, or we hadn't spoken in a long time, or whatever. We, the ones that are left here on earth, tend to sort of blow that out of all proportion, I suppose, because we tend to think we should have done more, or we could have done this, or we could have done that. And my understanding is when they get through to the other side, all that part of things of life that we know is here on earth becomes not as important to them. The only thing that's really important to them on the other side is for the people that are left behind to know that they're safe, they're well, they're happy, they see everything that's going on in your life and they are with you. They don't necessarily take through all this unfinished business to the other side that's all of a sudden burning a hole in their pocket, that they've got to do something about it. So from that, I'm taking he's not unhappy with you. He just seems to be waving to me in the distance as if to say, I'm having a good time. It's like I'm going off for a bike ride. Did he quite often wave you goodbye when he was going somewhere?
I'm sorry, he what?
Did he quite often wave you goodbye if he was going somewhere? If he was going away for a few days, did he wave to you and say, see you later, I'm going off now? Because that's all he's sharing with me, as if he's waving to you in a positive way. He's not waving to you in and saying goodbye permanently. It's just like, I'm going away for a couple of days and I'll see you in a couple of days, sis.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he just went to work and got killed in a car accident on the way home, so it was just so sudden.
Yeah, well, I can only give you what he's sharing with me. And that's what he's giving to me, is that he's saying to you that everything's okay. He wants you to get on with living and stop sort of being bogged down in something that you can't change. He doesn't have anything that he's unhappy about. He's quite happy. He's around you all the time. He sees everything that's going on, and he just wants you to start smiling again. He says that you've got a pretty face, and let's see that beautiful smile. So we're going to leave it there with April. As always, the show comes to an end very, very quickly. So, your little bit of homework this week around the world is try and find something positive to do. Try and sort of check in on somebody you haven't checked in on a while. Brighten somebody's day. A little, text message, a little smiley face, something like that will mean the world to someone else. And you'll be surprised how gratifying and how that fills your heart with love and positivity by just reaching out to somebody and sharing with them a little bit of a smile. A smile goes a long, long way. And until next week, I want you to keep everybody in our hearts and our prayers around the world. I think we all need to collectively pray for a cure, pray for a vaccine, so that we can all get back to our new normal and we can stop the end to all of this carnage. So until next week, bye for now.